Okay, so today I'm going to be having a quick chat with Julie and Lemont about how they've used the Agile coaching growth wheel in their organization and in their personal growth as coaches. So great to see you, Julie and Lemont, and nice to meet you for the first time.
Okay, yeah.
Nice to meet you as well.
Okay, great. So let's jump straight in. How have you used the coaching growth wheel?
I'm going to set the stage a little bit because we use it in very different ways. As a leader, one of the things that I wanted to do was find a tool where we could unite our coaches both here and in India with a common skills marketplace, if you will. And I'm going to let Lamont speak about his role in it. But we used that coaching wheel to set that stage with all of the scrum masters and coaches in both countries. And even we had some opportunity in Australia as well. From the coaching wheel, we also built out a pretty detailed skills marketplace. So when we talked about something like training or facilitation, what would it look like for us in our organization to understand what bodies of work we follow that we align with, what levels we're looking at determined by our roles and our exposure in the company, and how it also aligns to our career path. So the coaching wheel sort of gave us a structure to build that out. So we had some alignment. So we didn't feel like we were all over the place with a bunch of different sort of directions for our team. And then I will let Lamont introduce himself and what he's done with it from his perspective.
Thank you, Julie. So how I use the coaching wheel or how we use the coaching wheel in our practice, we use the coaching wheel to set a baseline for our practitioners, for the coaches in our practice. And from there, we use that to have guided conversations about how they may want to improve. So we'll start at the beginning of the year. We'll set the baseline with the coaching wheel. We'll have a discussion about what areas they want to focus on for the upcoming year. Helps them set their OKRs here in our company. But then it gives us pointed ways to then reflect to say, okay, you want to grow, for example, in facilitation. What kind of activities are you doing? What kind of projects are you taking on to gain skill in that area? Because it's not just about gaining the skill of reading a book. It's also about what can you do to have those opportunities to practice to further that skill.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's a textbook use of how we wanted it to be. So that you've baselined it. I guess you had people score themselves and come up with a number or at least a position on the tool. And then you're looking for that blend of book learning, which is obviously the early stage levels of 1 and 2, and then how to bring that to practice as they go forward. Tell me, did you find anything when you looked at let me make the split between the ability to do things. So some of these points say can facilitate a PI plan or big room planning, that kind of thing. Versus they have actually done it and got proven experience. Was there anything going on there?
So when we did the original assessment, I think that if I understand your question right, we did take the time to kind of observe them, see what kind of skills they do have. We're a pretty tight knit group, but then where could we find opportunities for them to have those stretch assignments to then apply those new skills in new areas?
Oh, great. So you actually used it to create and identify opportunities, bring them forward in some way. That's
Yes.
really good.
Yeah.
Good.
So where we could build a little bit of an understanding of gaps with our team where they wanted to go, then we followed up with these monthly learning labs where we had, I would call them more of a training session. And then we coupled that with support or reinforcement conversations through Lamont's coaching opportunities. So we sort of hit a 1-2 punch.
Mm.
So an example might be, I want to work on my coaching stance. In the coaching stance, one of the things that I might do is, read a book about powerful questions, right? Or just something around that space. We might do an exercise in our group, and then Lemont continued to follow up inside his private conversations. And since I'm the manager, I'm not privy to those private conversations. We wanted to really create that safe space so they could have that with Lemont, and it's not connected necessarily to their performance.
Was there any aspect of the tool, the wheel, that particularly stood out for you in terms of maybe its content or its structure?
Yeah, so I think what stood out for us is being able to look at things across the different levels, scoring yourself 1 to 5 and really focusing the practitioners on, take a make sure you're taking a consistent look across your skills. A lot of times we get into assessments and we want to impress someone, or we want to put ourselves in a good light. And so what we really try to reinforce is take an honest look at yourself, and it's an opportunity for us to improve. So I think just knowing that there are levels, there are successions that they could go through and that would show improvement, I think that was beneficial to them. And that's really one thing that stood out, because it's not that you have mastery in one area, or that you say it's a binary thing. I have the skill or I don't. But how am I doing against those different competencies? How am I? I might be high in one and low in another. But it really helped us to form a picture of the practitioners and then be able to guide them along on their journey, their self-appointed or self-directed journey.
And that is what we wanted to do, because we respectfully built on Shuhari, if you like, which is fine as a kind of an introduction, but it doesn't give you any examples. It leaves you to fill that in for yourself. So you've still got the sense of Shuhari going through the 5 levels, but we've put more flesh on it with all these different competencies and ramping up through the Dreyfus scale, pulling on all kinds of examples. Did you find that people in your organization sort of specialized in one area, or maybe the organization needed a high degree of, say, facilitation or training, and perhaps less coaching, or vice versa?
Our goal is to build out a cross-functional coaching team. Certainly when we hire, we look at propensities, but we do look to give some opportunities for growth where their passions are, so people have an opportunity. So for example, with facilitation, one of the things that I teach the professional Scrum facilitation skills class, it's not mandatory for them to go, but certainly if their coaching outcome was that they wanted to improve on their facilitation, that could have been one of the activities. Getting certified could have been an activity. Perhaps they brought 2 new facilitation techniques into specific meetings. So those are ways for them to measure their progress against facilitation. And so we did help with narrowing down some of the choices around each of those things so that we didn't feel like we were overwhelming them, so that we were very clear about the organizations we align with. We align with scrum.org. We align with Pro Kanban, right? We gave them some bodies of work that we used to form some structure so that they were speaking a common language. They could pair in with each other. They had some materials. They had some breadcrumbs, throughout, some consistency there. But yeah, I think our biggest goal was, yes, we want a cross-functional team, but we want it to be something of interest and passion to them, right? So they have two areas in their goals. One can be a professional outcome, which is just the thing that they want to improve. That's pretty wide open according to their goals and their passions and interests. The others are much more around outcomes that might be related to the team or the organization. They might be related, right? But they might not, because those are goals where we're asking them to look at things that are not their day job, where they're bringing stuff back into the practice or the organization. So it might be related. Let's just say we really did need to get more training talent. So we don't throw people out there. We have what we call the 3-step train the trainer process, sort of an I do, we do, you do. They have an opportunity to try that. Some people have tried it and they don't like it, and that's okay. They're able to back that out, but it might take them a year to get through that, and they can still back out. They can still say, I tried this, I went through it, I didn't like it, this wasn't my strength. And then they can use that. That becomes a sort of a secondary skill for them versus a passion topic.
Yeah, I like the way you've got that, and he's our recommended sort of pathways of learning and the bodies that we're aligned with. Incidentally, we did put our toe in the water of trying to do that, and Joel Bancroft Connors, one of the guys in the group, has done this sterling job of pulling together a whole, like, every Agile certification that could be worth having under the sun, and it's a huge list. And at one point we thought, well, should we try and sort of map those to the competency levels? But it was much too big of a task, and also it would have perhaps broken any neutrality the wheel has, because it just says, go and find these things. We'll give you some references, but we're not advocates for any one.
And for us, we wanted that consistency of coaching voice, around the world. So, if somebody had, for example, a Scrum Master certification from Scrum Alliance, that's great, valid. We appreciate that. If they want to still take the certification through scrum.org, that's great too, because it's reinforcement, but it also does align a little bit closer, because they're getting that consistent message with just some of our stances on things. Yeah. So that's been helpful for us, just to give a direction with the guided learning, and then their own learning pathways. But that's what worked for us, because we wanted that consistent message around the world.
Yeah, I can see that makes sense. I can see that makes sense. Subtle emphasis on certain styles and alignment across your group is going to work, isn't it? It's good. Okay. But is there anything, having used it so intensively, that you would like to see in a future version of it? Anything that it can be improved on?
I have an opinion. Lemont, you look like you're about to say something, so I'll give you a minute.
So I like we've recently switched over to the comparative agility version of the wheel. I think that's been a different experience. I think it's been a positive one. It removes some of the ambiguity of how individuals score themselves, and I think that has helped out a lot, because regardless of what the scores turn out to be, we're not comparing one Agilist against another. It really is showing them, we're not masters of all of these competencies, but that there are opportunities to grow. So I think that, moving towards the assessment type and then having that drive the wheel has been a positive experience, at least for our team. And so I think that would have been one improvement that I would have made that has since been made. So, I'll defer to Julie to get some more insight on how she might change the wheel.
It's probably not changing the wheel per se, but I do think I think having, from a leadership perspective, having a bit of a heat map, again, not needing to go into the details of each wheel, but sort of understanding how the group is made up, how am I doing with that cross functionality, where are some big gaps. Certainly with 6 or 7 people in the US, I know them pretty well, but I don't know the people in India or Australia as well, and vice versa. And so when we're looking to build out our competencies, maybe hire for that, or build out a training pathway, that would have been good to have some insight that was quantitative, that we could use to look at from a group level. But that's just adding on. It's not changing the wheel per se.
The addition of almost a common currency, or a common language of particularly for leadership. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we, in our conversations, it did help a lot, because we do align that sort of shuhari with our job levels. We went through a pretty significant move this year to change our job titles, to get project management out of the job title and have something a little more related to what we actually do. And we really wanted to position ourselves to have these accountabilities around potential. So somebody doesn't have to be, achieving on all cylinders, hitting it on all cylinders to think about being ready for promotion. But certainly it gave us that conversation about, when you are moving from one level to a next, what would those expectations look like? So an example might be, I am comfortable with facilitating the basic workshops that our group has as sort of standard workshops. So facilitation came out as a very basic requirement for us. Anybody who's basically at our senior Scrum Master level, moving up into a lead Scrum Master, needs to be able to facilitate our standard set of guided learnings with some kind of comfort level, so that if Lemont and I are not around, they can do that in their team or with others. And even within there, we found that there are some people who have some specialties. So people who have this sort of coaching product propensity probably do really well with things like the release planning or the agile planning series, right? So there's a lot of correlations between how we use the wheel in terms of their, personal growth, as well as how we did it for our group growth. And just the tool wasn't giving us that look. We did a lot of inferring.
Mm.
Totally fine for us because we're pretty small shop comparatively speaking, but
yeah,
that would be
see
an
how
addition.
that's playing into the movement towards skills over roles that we're seeing, isn't it? And this thing is called the Agile Coaching Growth Wheel because that's how it started. It was there when the title was coined, but taking a step back now, it really is there for not just for Agile, but any Agile practitioner really, which is now sort of systemic in a lot of places. Agile is embedded. We've just got to make it better. So yeah, maybe the a future title will lose the Agile coach element of it. But
Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing in our organization, we're a data organization, right? And so certainly Scrum might be a threshold through which a lot of coaches might start, but we are heavily working on those coaching stances, right? That really bringing that vision of Scrum.org to the table of being a professional, level Scrum Master and being that coach, and then really looking at coaching the organization. Well, that's led to coaching product, coaching tech leads, some of the seniors or the leads or the principals who are coaching management or coaching leadership. And so I think that's we're following what we're seeing in the industry, that it's much more move around business agility, product agility, organizational agility. And we have used the wheel to definitely baseline. Second, to understand where people's passions and growth areas are. But third, to build out our strategy for the future.
sounds really good. Yeah. Okay, I think if it's all right with you, folks, we'll leave it there. Unless you want to ask me something, and I'll see if I can answer that about the wheel. Give you a moment.
Yeah. What's the short term and long term roadmap? What are your goals?
We're kind of at a pause at the moment. I mean, we're a bunch of volunteers, remember, and we squeeze in an hour a fortnight. The next one's coming up in very shortly today, so it's Friday afternoons at the moment. It was such a big push to get the current version out there and stabilize. We're really in a communication, I hesitate to say saturation phase, but it's kind of like that. Let's get the word out there. Let's get more people using it. Let's get the next long tail of feedback and see what comes next. There is no version 3.3 or 4 or version 4, whatever we're on, immediately around the corner. So yes, we're kind of in as a product, we're in the flat part of the curve at the moment.
Nice. Well, I don't want to volunteer anybody on our team, but certainly as we work with our team, we might find others who might want to be interviewed by you. Maybe you can use some testimonials. Maybe that would be helpful for you.
See it as an ongoing thing. I mean, one aspect of it I'd like to see built out, and hopefully we can do this over time, is kind of a marketplace. Imagine, you had some coaches who had come, or even a single person who says, look, I've done the assessment wheel and I really want to develop my facilitation skills. I realize I've scored low. I don't get the experience. I haven't been out there. And maybe they could come to the community via the website or however we do it and find someone who's willing to mentor or pair with them. Go, right, I'll give you some guidance and one-to-one coaching on how to improve your facilitation, and then it becomes a bit of a trade-off. Maybe they can swap a skill or some mentor time with the other person. So I quite like that idea.
I love that idea.
A community of people coming here to help lift up everybody and lift up the profession as a whole.
Yeah, I think that's important because we only can learn, we have to have that outside in thinking, right? We can only really learn about where we need to go next by understanding, what other people are doing and sort of seeing some of that in action. That's one of the things too that this has helped us is when we start thinking about what does it look like for an agile career growth, right? Like who do we have that can model that behavior? What do their expectations look like so that people can see a career growth in action? It's not just something that is nebulous and out there, but it's actually related to like, okay, here's coaching can feel a little bit open-ended, but this is, a baseline. This is how you can grow. This is how you can, extend your own career growth, right? And learning how that is working with others, I think would be really invaluable.
Yeah, good. Take that as an endorsement. And Lemont, I noticed you said you like that, so I'll get in touch. We'll see what we can do. Okay.
Lamont has working on his secondary skill as a prompt engineer with AI, and he did a wonderful exercise where he took like comments that other people had sent in and used AI to summarize them, which gave a sort of a nice little picture. And as we're talking, I'm thinking about, oh, maybe there's something that AI can do to sort of help with that heat map or cross-functional map that we're looking for. So my ideas never stop. So put that on your Trello board,
I
Lamont.
think so, yeah.
It's jumping on there right now.
I don't think anyone in the group's got the AI skills, and it's all going to come and eat us for breakfast in no time at all. So we'll give you a shout, Lemont. You can come and help us do an AI version of the wheel. All
Oh,
right.
let me know how I can help.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Yeah. Okay, we'll do. Let's leave it there, folks. Great to talk to you. Thanks again for your time. And
Yeah, lovely. Nice to meet
see
you
you
too.
around.
Yeah, thank you. It's nice to meet you.